Welcome to the Local Marketing Source Weekly Update, brought to you by localmarketingsource.com.
This week's Local Marketing Update is brought to you by Scott Gallagher. Scott is the co-founder of Local Marketing Source and has become the recognized expert in providing online marketing services to local businesses. Follow Scott on Twitter @ScottGallagher5 and on Facebook.com/ScottPGallagher.
Hey, well, good afternoon, everyone. Scott Gallagher here with Local Marketing Source, bringing our weekly local marketing industry update. Now, next week's LMS member call is going to be August 6th at 4 p.m. Eastern. And first off, I got to apologize about this stream. I'm sending my video right now. I'm going to go ahead and stop it because I'm really with very, very limited internet access. We're running off of satellite internet, and we're powered by solar, and I'm on an island. You can see behind me, this is some pretty darn cool family property that we've got. We've had it for about 58 years now, and anybody that's been around LMS for a couple of years definitely knows that once a summer I'm up here, and this is God's country to me, my favorite place. And it's interesting, preparing for today's call, I'm going to go over the update in a minute. A lot has changed in Google and local internet marketing in the last week. It's kind of like there's just this flurry of information, some major changes, major updates, major changes in the SERPS. And I'm going through it, and I was thinking, while all these changes were going on in the internet and the local internet marketing community was just all in an uproar and a buzz, I'm experiencing something that is just far more memorizing, and I don't even know how to put it when you're looking at comet trails. And today I learned about something called a rainbow cloud. It's a very rare phenomena that we looked up in the sky, and over a 5-minute period, the cloud changed, and we saw every color spectrum in very vibrant colors up in the blue sky, every single color of the spectrum of the rainbow, and it was just phenomenal. And you know, you're in awe of Mother Nature. And we saw over 20 comets last night. Some of them, one of them had this trail across the sky like I've never seen before in my life. And then I throw on my computer, and back home in the internet world is doing all their stuff. And you know, when you really get into your element, you really recognize what's genuinely important to us as individuals. And you know, I think that's going to be a little bit of today's tip of being an entrepreneur. That there's certain reasons why I become an entrepreneur, and why I'll never ever work for somebody, and that's freedom. Yeah, a lot of us live in the United States, and we live in the land of the free. And I mean, the United States is not it's not a real democracy. It's not a full freedom. We do have to cater to taxes and in working and all these different things, and but there's just certain things that are much more important to us than making the next buck. And I know making the next buck is great and important. But that's what we do for our clients. And, you know, you guys know I work with chiropractors and transportation companies. And what gives me the greatest fulfillment for my job that I do is I help and I change people's lives. I affect them. I give them the opportunity to work into their business and have freedoms and enjoy life. And sometimes we forget that when we get into our day-to-day routine. And, you know, we've got quite a few new local marketing source members that have come in, and it's very, very common for any entrepreneur to feel like you're drinking from a fire hose. You just get an abundance of information, and you get overwhelmed. And I've seen it over and over and over again. Well, you know, we can consider the shiny object syndrome, and you know, people buy this course and buy that course online and hope that there's some sort of magic easy button that's just going to do everything for you. And sometimes you've just got to step back and look at the simplicity of everything. You are not a business owner until you have a client. I don't care if you have a website and business cards and phone lines and registration and all this. Who cares? Get some clients. And this, you know, when we do our 30-minute calls, your free 30-minute call when you become a local marketing source member, and a lot of you haven't booked that. You can see a lot of students in the portal recently have really spoken up and gained some value from it. And I kind of feel like that's some area that we really got to focus in on and identify what's really important, what's the simple aspects of it, and how do you go and get that client? You know, a lot of people are trying different email and all this stuff. Well, let's face it. You guys heard me say it before. We all make the same face on the shitter. We're all people at the end of the day. I've talked about all the different ways to influence human behavior, whether it's the words you use or the tone of your voice or your physiology. And don't forget that face-to-face represents 55% of that weight of influencing human behavior. Use that to your advantage. Don't be afraid to walk into people's offices and say, this is who I am, and if you're brand new, put it out there, because your passions are what are ultimately going to sell. Passions of you really want to help that business find more clients or patients or customers on the internet so those entrepreneurs can focus on what they love the most. And, you know, a chiropractor doesn't go to school to become a marketer. Hang on, I'm cleaning my camera lens. I got something on it. I wonder if that shows. But anyhow, I digress quite a bit. This week we've got a few different things to talk about, and yes, it does have to quite a bit with Google. There's different reports that are out, but first off, Google updates the local algorithm, and it is upside down and backwards right now. In addition to that, there's a study that's out of where consumers leave local reviews. Where are they leaving reviews? Google, Facebook, Yelp, and I can hear my niece in the background. You're going to hear some people, maybe some dogs, and I'm with my family. So I apologize. She's cute little girl. She's 2 years old and Australian. And if you've ever heard a 2-year-old talk with an Aussie accent, Moz has also done some updates to the query set. I'm going to report some of that. There's been a 23% drop in local SERPs. WHITESPARK has also reported a 24% decline in the local packs. And finally, I'm going to finish off this update with YELP being a fantastic SEO company and how they are consistently influencing Google results. Now, before I get into the update, just for any new members, you have the ability to ask questions. You can go ahead and, that's Ken saying here, that satellite quality. You can go ahead and ask questions by raising your hand. I will unmute you and we can talk. I don't know how well we're going to be able to hear some of that, but I'd like to try it. And finally, you can go ahead and post questions into the question box. Ken, since I have you on the line, what are you referring to about the quality? Is everybody able to hear okay? Are we streaming fine? I can see that I'm, getting 15 to 20K up and down right now. This is almost DSL, not DSL, dial-up. But, all right. So, there's been a major update. We've been talking about, what are we, major update number 4 between Panda and Penguin in the last couple of years. Last couple of member calls, we talked about, I really got to get myself into business mode here. We were talking about some of the fundamentals of the Hummingbird update and how Hummingbird was, it's not really an update, it was just a process change and a fundamental. Well, I had a mastermind. You guys know who Josh Nelson is. And Josh gets into the mastermind groups. He says, everybody's seeing this. Our clients have just shot right up to the top of the SERPs. And we started to look into it. We started to look at all of our client results. And all of our client results, we improved. I mean, overnight, we improved results. Do you know what the internet is reporting? The SEO community is reporting, as I discussed, a 24% drop. What the hell does that mean? When local marketing source students are jumping up and the internet marketing community as a whole has a 25% drop, well, maybe we're doing some things right at local marketing source, and it just yet further instills that the practices that we teach and identify that, getting rankings on Google is not about reverse engineering the algorithm. You're going to constantly be chasing that rabbit. It makes no sense. Have you ever heard the expression, you want to get a job done and you've got to have the right tools? You want to go and catch that rabbit? Have a good trap, have a good bait, set up, a line of apples that are salted and lead them in and whatnot. If you're just going to be running around and chasing the guy, you're never, ever going to catch him. Well, it's no different with Google. And reverse engineering that algorithm is always going to get you in trouble. The hardest way to market a business is the way we do it, though, and that's real marketing. And that's creating marketing material that has genuine relevance with their consumers. Engagement. We talk about this stuff. So don't be afraid, guys, that these updates are coming out. And if you've been reading some of these reports over the last week or so about these drops and going to get that, don't chase the shiny object. You're not going to win. And I don't understand why we're the 10%. Why you go to places like Warrior Forum and there's just products after products and educators after educators that are teaching this and teaching that and still creating link networks and using proxies and all this bullshit. It makes no sense. You can hear my passion in this, and I just, one of the very first things that they taught me when I went to school to become a marketing major in my first year was customer segmentation and understanding the customers. Every customer is different. You could have two chiropractors side by side, and one chiropractor may focus on wellness, while another one may focus on back pain. Well, you're going to position them differently. You're going to create different marketing material in terms of videos and communication, and you're going to attract a different audience. Well, that audience you can segment, and that's ultimately just understanding different demographics of that audience. Whether you're segmenting based off of age or region where they live, zip codes, education, income levels, ethnicities, the list just could ultimately go on. And then at that point in time, you can uncover and get some more needs. Just going to take a quick look here. We got some stuff that's being posted. Ken's reporting had a little bit of issues. It was a little bit choppy, and the video was spotty, but it's golden now. Ken, that was probably because I was trying to stream the video, which would make it a little bit choppy. I just wanted to share a little bit about where I'm at. But last year, what I did is I did a tour of this compound here. It's kind of neat. We got Wi-Fi all over it. And George, what's George saying here? Okay, he's got some good questions. We'll get to that at the end. What else have we got going on here? Now, reviews. When we're talking about relevancy of marketing, what's the number one marketing method known to man or marketers? Period. Nothing's beat it, and I don't think anything ever will. And that's word of mouth, right? No internet's ever going to beat word of mouth. Sales cycles are immensely reduced with word of mouth marketing. Somebody that you trust and they make a recommendation to you, you don't need to be sold. You're ready to buy. And remember, consumers don't want to be sold. Nobody wants to be sold ever, but people want to buy. So we established about 3 years ago at Local Marketing Source that reviews were a major pillar of local marketing. As a matter of fact, it's one of the three major pillars. We've pushed our consumer review and our customer review strategies on all of our customers, and I continually try to push it in that education for LMS students. And enabling consumers and customers and patients to leave reviews easily for these local businesses is absolutely critical. But where do consumers leave reviews? Obviously, we're going to assume that Google is number one. I would have assumed that Yelp was number two. Now Facebook is number two. Facebook is number 2. And I want to share an interesting statistic about Facebook and local businesses because they got their half-ass backwards on quite a few different things right now. And that 55% of local businesses in the United States have a web page. 70% of local businesses in the United States have a Facebook page. So there's more businesses that are on Facebook than have a website. But according to Google, and this is a massive report that went out, 97% of consumers that purchase from local businesses have utilized a search engine to get information about that local business. 97%. But only 55% of businesses have a website and an online presence. And we know to be listed in the SERPS, you need to have a website. We know that Google doesn't crawl Facebook, so there's no relevancy to be on Facebook. What the hell? But only 2% of consumers have admitted to making a purchase through Facebook at a local business. Facebook is not a platform to engage sales. It's a platform to engage relationships and to flourish relationships, to build them. And we know that engagement is very, very important with businesses and consumers. So where does this all come together? I'm wrapping my head around this. Why consumers are leaving reviews on Facebook? Well, maybe this is just yet another pivotal point that Facebook has pushed some of this with its consumers. And I think that if this is the case, that internally that's what they're doing with Facebook, they're doing the right thing. To be able to crack that small and medium business nut is very, very difficult. We've seen Google working at it for years. We've seen many businesses. We've seen Yahoo fail at it, Bing fail at it, Apple is failing at it. I mean, Apple's the richest company on the planet, and they've not been able to crack the local nut. Facebook, just think of the money, the gross domestic. It just blows my mind that these businesses are fighting for this. And over the next decade, at least the next 5 years, the battle is going to be extremely fierce to be able to get access to that. I think Google My Business was a very good move by Google a couple of months ago. And but now, I mean, the world is a lot different. So keep an eye on those reviews. I'm also going to be doing some testing at my agency with our local review acquisition strategy. If you know what it is, and utilizing the QR codes and driving local consumers to leave reviews, we are going to be throwing Facebook and doing some testing into that mix. That's not something that we've done in the past, but now that they're number 2, it's important. And because that's going to be public information, Google will be able to crawl it. So I'm gonna go out and hypothesize right now. Don't take this as any advice, but I'm going to hypothesize that driving reviews to Facebook is actually going to be very relevant and important. The next thing I just wanted to talk about was, Moz had recorded, they said that there was a 23.4% drop in the recent update. Google is calling that a pigeon update. They really like their animals. I wonder what the relevancy of pigeon is going to be. I'm going to do some research on that. Remember back in the day when they launched Hummingbird, it was on their 15th year anniversary that they made the announcement, and the idea of Hummingbird was to be faster and move quicker and get all around and stuff like that. And they like to use cute little animals. But the point is even in the SERPs, the local 7-pack is dropping out. And my thoughts on some of this are actually a good thing. Now, where I come from, look at it this way. Let's say we're going to use my own hometown of Crystal Lake, Illinois, and I've got, we know that consumers buy off of needs more than wants. And let's say I have a need for some repair on my body, or I've got some sore somewhere, I hurt my arm or something like that. What am I going to do? I'm going to do a little bit of research on that. That's what consumers are doing more and more, and getting education before they go and buy. Just think of the automobile industry. Car salesmen have hated the last 10 years because consumers are walking in and they know not only the sticker prices and retail prices, they know costs and they do cost comparisons. Consumers are more educated as buyers than they've ever been. So we teach that we want to educate these consumers and know that chiropractors come from a different world. We use that analogy quite often, a pain management chiropractor versus a wellness chiropractor. You've heard the term content is king, right? Well, it always has been. And again, the SEO community is content marketing and all this bullshit. No, I mean, content marketing is not something new. It's been around forever, just like article marketing, but it's creating that quality content, guys. So I talked last week, I would sooner get one link and one exposure from the local newspaper than write an article and have it posted on 1,000 websites and have 1,000 links coming in. I would sooner have that one link, but it's hard because you got to build a real relationship. Like, pick up the phone and talk to somebody with an editor of that newspaper to get an article published. I just listened to this quick little story. One of my clients in Chicago, I don't know how this was missed, but it's owned by my client's mother. She's 98 years old, and that business is 91 years old. So it was handed down to her. And I thought of it, and it dawned on me that, well, wait a minute. How many women own taxi companies in the United States? Well, there's 12,000 taxi companies with our research. But there was 431 taxi companies in the United States that are owned by women. And I thought, what if 400 women in the United States that own a taxi company? And my client's 98 years old. She might be the oldest woman in the country that owns a taxi company. And it might be my client. And I thought, well, that's newsworthy. Let's figure this out. We contacted the local newspaper, and they jumped on it. And then we moved to the Chicago Tribune. That's a big newspaper in the United States. Well, if it's worthy for that, guys, this is national news. Think of that exposure. I would take that one link from having an article on CNN saying this business is the oldest owned taxi company for women, and women are the largest minority in the United States. That's newsworthy. It's very, very relevant. So what I'm getting back to this drop and how a lot of the local results have dropped is that I think Google is recognizing that organic content has a lot of relevancy for local businesses. That's why they're showing a lot more organic results as opposed to just local results. And we create content based off of conditions and symptoms. So we interview all of our chiropractors. What do your patients say when they come in? Well, I got pain in my neck and I got pain here. And what are the adjectives that they use to describe this pain? That's the content we create. Why? Because that's plain English. Think of something like fibromyalgia. Okay, I saw a commercial on television last week that was, you got to take this a pill called Lyrica for fibromyalgia. And I thought, holy crap, here's the pharmaceutical industry now getting into that. And apparently that, Lyrica was designed to suppress nerves. And they realized, well, heck, this will kill the pain. Well, the whole concept of fibromyalgia is not that you're feeling pain in your legs and to kill those, the communication of the nerves in your legs up to your brain. It's an issue in your head because the pain doesn't actually exist with fibromyalgia. And through chiropractic care, you can realign the spine and allow communication between the organs and the brain and flow a little bit differently. What a gold mine to start creating content on that when people are searching for these conditions and these symptoms. And so, again, these two drops that I'm talking about today, in my opinion, are still reconfirming that what we teach and move forward with is the only way to go, guys. It's real marketing. You're not engineers. You're not scientists. And the Google algorithm is based off of science. 1 + 1 = 2. It's mathematics. It's always going to be the same until they physically go in and change it. But they're trying to match the Google algorithm to the art. In other words, human behaviors. And they're only getting smarter and smarter and smarter as days go by. Finally, the last thing was just a report from WHITESPARK, but it's all the same stuff that I just went through. So no need to go a little bit further on that. And just before we get into questions, YELP, they are very good. They are very, very good at search engine optimization. And apparently, YELP has the ability to sculpt their internal linking values to highlight what appears most popular to local businesses in the Google local results. In other words, through internal linking dynamics, they can make changes on their website to highlight the businesses of their choice to allow Google to pick it up. Well, that's science. That's not the art behind it. Yeah, it works today. And yes, Yelp can do this stuff. But I'm going to make a prediction today, on July 30th, 2014. I do this every once in a while. And I'm going to suggest that in the next 12 months, we're going to see a drop in Yelp's market share. I'll leave it at that. All right, guys, let me see what's going on. And I'm just going to take 30 seconds right now, and I will come back and answer any questions that you might have. All right. I'm having a little bit hard time reading with the sun here. So George is saying, getting bogged down with building my tool set. Had Bright Local do a citation track on my own business to see what they came back with. 17 results were returned, and none were relevant to me. WhiteSpark, Moz, Majestic, Raven all have the capabilities. Just want a tool that can help me do a site crawl to highlight the issues, and then have a tool that can help me fix them. Yes, I know the 3 pillars. Will appreciate it if you suggested the core tools that we should have access to. So, George, are you saying you're not happy with Bright Local's tool? It sounds like that you utilize Bright Local's citation tracker, and that you are looking for a tool that can do a site crawl. I think those are 2 different tools inside Bright Local. 2 years ago, there were no 3 years ago, there was no local SEO tracking tools. There was nothing out there. And over the last 3 years, we've seen things come out. Bright Local was one of the first, being a UK-based company. WhiteSpark being a Canadian-based company. And then Moz bought Get Listed, and they've been starting to come out with different tools. They're a US-based company. I don't know anything about Majestic or Raven tools. Now, no tools are perfect today, and I will admit that Bright Local definitely returns some results that are not relevant. I've never encountered a situation where only 17 were returned, and where 0 were relevant. I do like their tool that's a, what is it called? I think it's just called the SEO Checkup Report, to be honest. And it just runs a report. It's an on-the-page report. So, George, I'd like to learn more about these negative results that you received. I will definitely have to reevaluate my understanding of tools. I think tools definitely change from time to time as other ones come out and get better. It might cost quite, can't talk today. It might quite possibly be. Maybe I should have had a drink before this call. Yeah, it might be that there's some tools that are better in our opinions than Bright Local. But if you're still, like I said, I'd like to learn more and see how much further we can help. Ken is saying about the QR code strategy. What if the customer has to download an app to use it? It's possible. I mean, they've got to use an app on their phone called a QR reader. I believe that app is installed and capable on iPhones. And I believe you've got to download it on Android. Now, one thing I want to talk about with the review acquisition strategy is that one thing my customers get really frustrated about is they say, well, we hand them out. We don't get that many. Well, dude, we're only looking for a 10% return. So if you hand out 10 cards of 10 happy customers and you've asked 10 happy customers to digitize their positive review, in other words, go put it on the internet, and only one out of that 10 leave that review, we're doing good. If my project managers, that's the milestone I look at with them. And if they're getting, if they're lower than 10%, then it's their fault. And most of the time, we're above 10%. Ken says, also, did you say something about the 7-pack and Google going away? No, I'm not saying that it went away. What I'm saying is 24% of the results, according to Moz, you don't see it as much. Such as, do a search for, here's one that I found when I was researching, Plumber San Francisco, and the result that you're going to get. Or Nail Salon San Francisco. You can see that there's a lot of organic results above the 7-pack. Gerard saying, yes, 2 different tools, but doubting if Bright Local is a good tool for citation tracking. Okay. Well, I'll respect your opinion on that. I don't agree with that. Not today. When we did our research back, a couple of years ago and tried out all the different tools, they were absolutely unquestionably the best. Over the last few years, we do have run into some challenges. Majority of our citations, though, follow. There are no tools for this. I don't know why there aren't tools for this. And get back to the marketing books. This is why a lot of internet marketers are just really they don't have a clue what's going on. Competitive research. Google is your best tool. That's our strongest way to find citations, by the way, and it's still done manually. And what we do is we take the NAP of the locus. So you take your top keywords, all right, chiropractor in Algonquin, chiropractor in Gore Bay, that's where I'm close to, Mindamoyum, and find out who's ranking number 1 and number 2. Get their NAP. Take their NAP, put it into Google with quotation marks around it. NAP being name, address, phone number. Put quotation marks around that and find out what results Google is returning. That's how these tools should be running their searches, and they don't. They don't have that competitive aspect to the way. That in itself is going to give you much better competitive data than Bright Local's competitive data. And it's manual. Nick. Oh, buddy, nice to see you on the line. What time? Nick's a long-time customer, and Nick gets up in the morning. It's probably about 7 o'clock in the morning for him on Thursday over in New Zealand. And I don't know if you were on the line, Nick, this morning, but I got my little niece here, and as you know, she's from Melbourne, and man, those little kids with the accents you guys have is just incredibly cute. You're welcome, Ken. Dave says this will save you a lot of time. Yeah. Tisha It says, Scott, I'm going to go see a former boss at a dental and medical facility with 27 dentists and doctors. Do you recommend do a video walk around for each doctor and dentist, or ask them all to smile on video and just have one walk around? Better yet, how would you go about it? Thanks. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so you can go see a former friend, former boss at a dental facility and medical. Is this, what's your objective? What are you trying to achieve, Tisha? Or no, are they paying clients? So when you talk about a video walkthrough, I'd need to know a little bit more. See, when you've got a situation like that, you've got to separate the business from the doctors. And that's why Google, by default, has a business page and a doctor page. And what are you going to do and leave reviews for and whatnot? Each of the doctors need their own place to capture some of these reviews. But the business itself is also an entity. And so on the properties that you create for each of the doctors, you would definitely want to link to a walkthrough. But I would assume that a walkthrough would be more than sufficient to satisfy all the needs of all 27 dentists and doctors at once. There's no point in each one having their own. I hope that answered your question, Tisha. David. What is this, dude? Nap Hunter Lite, now in the Chrome store. I'm going to check that out. George, so what do you do after you've submitted the NAP in quotations and get the competitor results? Oh, well, each of those results is a citation, George. So when you do that, when you get their NAP and you put it in quotations and you hit the search button on Google, the very first result is going to be the most relevant result to Google. But we also got to assume that the most relevant result is also a very highly authoritative result. Go and look at that root domain and figure out what do you have to do to get a citation for your client on there. Good. Well, I'm glad that answered your question, Tisha. Any more questions, guys? I'm really glad to see that nobody's dropped off the call. We were able to hold the internet connection. So this Nap Hunter is put out by Andrew Shotlands. Interesting. Ooh, that scares me right off the bat. This should streamline installations so you can get to automating. That's a automation is always a scary, scary word. You got to walk lightly around it. I'm gonna check that out. Thanks. Oh, we do have more questions here. David. Yeah, it really does save a lot. Yeah. He was just saying, you know, what you do manually and automatically using Google saves me hours, and it's free. Yeah, you've heard the expression before, guys. You know, you gotta work smart, not hard. There's a lot of tricks in Google to do Google searches that people just don't recognize. Ken says, I'll be registering for my 30-minute consultation with you soon. Glad to have found you, Scott. Thanks, Ken. And anybody else that's on the line, you know, this is, I started to throw in that 30-minute call probably 4 or 5 months ago as a bonus. And it was not a part of the regular package of Local Marketing Source. And so when students bought in, nobody was taking me up on this offer. and started to question it and realized that we did no promotion after a student came in. But after I started just promoting it just through these phone calls and a little bit on Facebook, we had, a couple dozen students that went through it. And just go on Facebook, the private LMS group, and hear what other people have said about this call. And I don't know. I don't have any strategy for these calls. I do charge quite a bit per hour. You guys know my rate is $200 an hour to do consulting for you. So there's some good value with this 30-minute call. It's worth $100. But it's what that's all. That's arbitrary when we start to talk about money and value. And I don't have a formula or anything. But I ask a lot of questions. Try to understand where you're at, what you want to achieve, what some of the challenges you are facing to achieve your goals, and then go back off of my experience and my experience watching other students grow their practices. Guys like Josh Nelson, $2.5 million agency, 15 people working for him. He's been at it for 3 years, guys. He started with 0 sales at LMS, and he bought no other courses, no other training material. We've seen it over and over and over again. So then at that point in time, after asking questions and listening to you for 20 minutes, I spit out with what I have to say. And I chuckle at it. It makes me feel good. I chuckle because, I look at it, who am I? I'm just a small town Northern Ontario boy. But it resonates with people. And I encourage everybody to take advantage of it. I mean, my objective at Local Marketing Source is to provide value. Let's face it, we're a business. I'm in business for profit. Local Marketing Source is a business to make money. It's no secret. Yeah, I'll be blunt. I want to dip into your guys' pockets month after month. No secret, just like with my agency clients. But I can only do that if value is provided. And we're always trying to look ways to further enhance that value so people can write those emails and say, man, thanks. George saying thanks. We can get. Oh yeah, George. I keep forgetting that. Yeah, George is in my area. Yeah, that'd be fine, man. If you wanted to come out, we can make some arrangement. George, if you're going to make the effort to come and meet me face to face, you can't beat face-to-face relationships. And when somebody makes that effort, let's screw the 30 minutes, man, and let's go out for lunch and just have a working lunch. We'll take an hour, and there's a really nice place just down the street from my office. It's right on the river. It's got some really nice food and great place. And in the summertime, we'll sit outside and talk. I'm glad I was able to hold this call, guys. I see nobody has dropped off, and my attendance rate has stayed stagnant. That's good. So, we got any more questions? Nobody with their hand up. I'm stoked to meet you too, George. I really get stoked. Like, Local Marketing Source is not my breadwinner. My agency is. And Local Marketing Source has been a hobby. And we've sold a lot. I mean, we've got quite a few people that have come through the program and a lot of successes, but one hell of a learning curve. But it's only this year that we've been starting to draw, a little bit of revenue out of the company. And my point is Local Marketing Source is my passion. I love this business. I love it. And if I have something to say that's going to help somebody, awesome. So I'm pretty stoked about meeting you too and you coming up. And this is a good closing right here. Tisha says, great stuff as usual. Thanks, Scott. Well, thank you, Tisha, for speaking up. And I will talk to all you guys next week.